All right, let's talk real quick. I saw a video from Trey Drechsel, I believe his last name. I could have said his name incorrectly. I apologize, Trey. Um, he is a professional basketball player, plays overseas. Funny enough, with one of the players I played with, Tyler Stone, in the TBT. And he made a video. I'm going to paraphrase it, but basically it was about trying to understand the why behind everything that you do as a basketball player. And this is a mindset which I tell all the athletes I work with. It's that I would love for you to have my sports science brain so you could access the own knowledge to make your own decisions. But you can only do that if you approach a situation with a level of inquiry that exudes a certain amount of humbleness. You don't know and you want to know and you want to learn. And what's important there is if you want to learn, you have to have some level of skepticism. Be like, I don't think that's right. But let me take it one step further. Let me figure out why that is not right. Because maybe there are parts that are correct. And what's important about that is it adds a level of checks and balances to your thought process. Now, you might go and you might meet an individual, and that individual is an expert in their field. And they say, well, if you want to work on hand-eye coordination, you should do something like this. And you might take their bit of information at a little more weight and face value than you would someone who's not an expert in the field, simply because the probabilities that they're saying something incorrect is maybe lower than some random person off the street. But if you want to know why it works, you still have to approach what they say with some level of skepticism, intellectual inquiry, call that. And you go, okay, well, I believe that works. Tell me why. They might explain why. But then you should do your own due diligence to then decide whether or not that why makes sense to you. And the reason why I bring this up is because it adds a level of autonomy to yourself. And then you, as the decision maker, you are the CEO of your career, can begin to organize certain people, places, or things to help optimize your information acquisition. You might not have any money watching this. That's totally fine. You might say, okay, I don't have someone like Max who I can hire and have him help me out because he's a trusted resource. He's going to take this analytical approach. I'll have to put the onus on myself, you, the viewer, and I'm going to go look up certain experts in the field, not just one expert, maybe multiple experts, and I'll synthesize that information from people who are synthesizing information. So it's kind of like reading the Spark Notes from multiple individuals. Maybe you find one individual who has a certain belief, another individual has a certain belief, and you begin to weigh their expert opinions based on how they explain stuff. That's a good way to cast a very large net and begin to gather information on a topic without you having to read the most specific bit of information. Now, there might be things that you deem more important, like nutrition, or things that have more confusion to it. And that's where you might want to take a deeper dive or even look into seeking out more specific type of expert advice, like an actual call with a dietitian or whatever it might be, seeking out that individual. But regardless, you are the one taking on that accountability. And the reason I think this is so important is because it gives us tools along the way. If you just go and you pursue something and you just pursue based on face value of experts you interact with or just random bits of information you acquire through observation, experience, and maybe audio based, just kind of skimming through the internets, you might not actually understand anything. When it comes down to applying that skill and that information, you might not have enough information to even consider it a skill. So you might go through an entire career and you might not have acquired any new skills and knowledge in that area that would be deemed valid because you've basically just been piggybacking off of people at a very surface level type of deal. But if you begin to construct an actual portfolio of interest and you start to look at stuff and you say, well, I think this because of that, you'll probably stumble upon stuff that you find interesting. And then you can begin to take those skills and apply it to stuff. I think he's mentioned this in some of his posts. I know nothing about him. I know nothing about his credentials in terms of this. But he's like, I want to help players understand certain things and how to maybe get out. I think one video was about getting out of a slump or something like that. Maybe another video was about training and stuff. Totally cool. But the idea is he's acquiring a skill set while performing a skill. And that's a very, very, very powerful tool to have. If I can go perform the skill of basketball, but then acquire the skill of becoming a good trainer or whatever, a liaison that you might want to be, you have not only benefited yourself because you begin to acquire information that can help you perform that skill better, but then you actually are developing skills that are parallel to that playing basketball, but are scalable. You are not scalable in the sense you can't play for multiple teams at once, but your information and acquisition of information and guidance of experience can be scaled. And at the end of the day, your utility is going to be based on your usefulness, the utility that you have. And some people might, at the end of their career, say, oh, I want to go help people get better at basketball, but you didn't spend any time learning the ins and outs and the whys. There's hundreds of people, if not thousands of people, who are like that. And that's totally fine. You might love the game, but you are basically starting from square one because you're beginning to try and understand the why 10 years after you've played, which is kind of weird because when you're playing, shouldn't you have tried to seek out the why while you were playing so you can better prepare and play you yourself? So I want to use him as an example because I think he does a really good job with his platform. Now, haven't watched all of his videos. I don't know him personally at all, but I think more players should share that type of stuff and share their parallel interests. You might not be interested in the skill set. Maybe you're interested in the business side of things. Maybe you're interested in the aesthetics. Maybe you're interested in coaching. Maybe you're interested in, foreign travel and being able to take advantage of a city and understand the beauty that it has, and almost from like a tour guide standpoint. There's so many things you can do. But there's so many things that we can do in life that improve our skill set and at the same time act as a new tool set. So as I try to acquire bits of information so I can become a better basketball player and I dive into the why, the time I spend diving into the why adds value to me in my information, and my utility makes me a better practitioner. So when someone comes to ask for my skill set, you're not paying me for my time, you're paying me for the time I've put in to make me useful. The same way you don't buy a Lamborghini because it gets you from point A to point B really fast and that's why it costs so much. You pay for a Lamborghini and it costs so much because of the time and craftsmanship put into it and the skill and knowledge put into it. So players out there or even skills trainers, whomever you might be, something to consider and think about. All what it does, I think at the end of the day, is it helps you at bare minimum become better at what you currently do, and at maximum maybe even open up new doors for you. So appreciate y'all. Hope you enjoyed. Take care.